Vasudevaya. Okay, Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, today we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, verse number 45. 4, 29, 45. Sabda Brahmani Duspare Charanta Urvishtare Mantalinga Vyabhochinam Bhajanto Na Vidhu Param Sabda Brahmani Duspare Charanta Urvishtare Mantalinga Vyabhochinam Bhajanto Na Vidhu Param Sabda Brahmani Duspare Charanta Urvishtare Mantalinga Vyabhachinam Bhajanto Na Vidur Param. Word for word, Sabda Brahmani in the Vedic literature, Duspare, unlimited, Charanta, being engaged, Guru, greatly, hymns, Lingae, by the symptoms, Vyavachinam, partially powerful. Parentheses, the demigods. Bhajanta, worshipping, Navidhu, they do not know, Param, the Supreme. Translation. Despite the cultivation of Vedic knowledge, which is unlimited, and the worship of different demigods by the symptoms of Vedic mantras, demigod worship. I'm going to read that one more time. Despite the cultivation of Vedic knowledge, which is unlimited, and the worship of different demigods by the symptoms of Vedic mantras, demigod worship does not help one to understand the supreme, powerful personality of Godhead. Okay. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7:20, Kamastaster hitiyam tam tam niyamam astriha asthaya prakrita niyata swaya. Quote, those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. End quote. Most people are interested in worshiping demigods to acquire power. Each demigod has a particular power. For instance, the demigod Indra, the king of heaven, has power to shower rain on the surface of the globe to give sufficient vegetation to the earth. This demigod is described. Indra rules the water supply with a thunderbolt in his hand. The thunderbolt itself is controlled by Indra. Similarly, other demigods, Agni, Varuna, Chandra, Surya, have particular powers. All these demigods are worshipped in the Vedic hymns through a symbolic weapon. Therefore, it is said here, mantra lingai vyavachinam. By such worship, karmis may obtain the benediction and material opulence in the form of animals, riches, beautiful wives, many followers, and so on. By such material opulences, however, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakaram Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shita Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatan Sagana Ragana Tam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivashakam Vitamsha Panchakalpa Tarubhisha Kripa Sindhubi Evacha Patitanam Padmanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasri Gaura Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Panchatattvatara Bhaktakyam Mame Bhakta Shaktikam Mukam Karoti Vachala Pangam Langaite Girim Yakripatamaham Vande Gurum Tinatarinam. Okay. So, in this verse we see how one cannot obtain the personality of Godhead through worship of the demigods. It is interesting because I was thinking how sometimes we hear that by engaging in bona fide processes that are recommended in the Vedas, then one makes gradual advancement. So there are purificatory mechanisms embedded in these Vedic rituals in order to elevate one. But I guess that elevation is kind of, it's not sufficient in itself to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's just my kind of, my philosophical speculation based on these different factors. It is interesting idea that that purification can happen, but for one to obtain the stage of engaging in devotional service, it's independent of these things. So of course we know in the Bhagavad Gita, of course the whole Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's kind of making the point of how one can attain him. But in this verse particular, in the 18th chapter, Bhakti Mama Vichanati Yavanyas Chasmi Tattva Tatomam Tattva Vishate Tat Anataram. So Krishna is saying that only by devotional service can one know me as I am. And therefore, by such service, one can enter into the kingdom of God. So we might take very cheaply these different processes that we're engaged in, not the 9 processes of devotional service, but it's amazing that actually by engaging in them, then one become closer and closer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One's spiritual bank account is being filled. So I heard in one lecture, Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you come to the temple once, twice, thrice, and you keep coming, eventually you'll become a devotee. So, this is the process that the more one engages in devotional service, then the more one wants to engage in devotional service. So this is the great power of engaging in devotional service, as the verse I just quoted is saying that, yes, by engaging in devotional service, then one can know me, and not by these other means. So regarding this worship of the different demigods, of course, yeah, when Prabhupada was asked about this, that Prabhupada, you're writing so much about the demigods, why is this? And because the devotees couldn't understand, because at the time, there wasn't exactly, there was hardly any knowledge of demigod worship and things like this. And I believe Prabhupada stated how, yeah, one day we'll see. One day this will be more relevant. And of course, this is relevant to those who come from backgrounds of, from India. They know because they worship different demigods. They think that, Krishna is just one of the many demigods, and therefore you better have a big altar because you want to worship all the demigods. As our Guru says, it's the full coverage insurance policy. So you want to make sure you're covering all your bases by worshiping all the different demigods. But actually, and we can see now, actually, this demigod worship seems to be becoming more and more prominent, even amongst the non-Indian background populations. I remember one devotee, he was a nice devotee. He joined the temple soon after I did, and somehow ended up. I think it was time for us as young bhaktas to kind of take the next step. So our temple president called the how do I say, like the ISKCON Navy SEALs, the traveling book distributors, to train us how to become brahmacharis and how to distribute books. And it was quite intense training, and I guess, like I was just hearing someone was saying that they won't be a Marine, but then they kind of decide, okay, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. So anyways, some people were deterred by this intense military training that we got. And so this devotee, he left, and we tried calling him, we tried to get in contact with him, but couldn't. So then this senior devotee said, well, why don't you know where he lives, just take him, play the prasadam, go to his house and see what's going on with him. That drove to his house, didn't know what was going to happen when I knocked on the door. But to my surprise, he opened the door and he was so happy to see me and invited me in, and he was so ecstatic when he saw the prasadam, and so he honored the prasadam. We were talking, and turns out, he got connected with a girl who was also into spirituality, but a little more rajasic form of. Everyone says everything is spiritual nowadays, but to make a long story short, he ended up getting involved with the Shaktas, the worshippers of the Shakti energy of the Lord Durga, and he found some guru, went to Tennessee to take initiation, and at his initiation festival, ceremony, they ended up offering offering something abominable to Goddess Durga, and then partaking and eating it after. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So anyways, the point being that, yeah, this demigod worship is also taking root in the Western countries, and therefore Prabhupada's giving wisdom about it is also very applicable. And in this, Hare Krishna. And in this regard, there's a verse in Upanishad that talks about demigod worship. Well, there's a few. One is that, okay, I guess I'll go to the one I was thinking of first. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay, so let me just pull it up real quick. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay, Upanishad mantra number 12. Okay. Okay. Antam tamaha pravishyanti ye sambhutam upasate. Tato bhuya iva te tamo ye yu sambhutyam rataha. Translation. Those who are engaged in the worship of demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance, and still more so to those who worship the impersonal absolute. So a very interesting point there that, yeah, those who worship the demigods enter into the darkest regions of ignorance. So really, we don't have really many options in this life if one truly wants real peace. One wants real peace, yeah. As we hear the peace formula, Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarvalokam Heswaram Suridam Sarvbhutanam Gyatvam Shantim Rikshati. That one who knows that Krishna is the supreme proprietor of all planetary systems, who is the enjoyer of all sacrifices, and who is the best friend of all living entities, he can attain peace from the pangs of material existence. So this is the real peace formula, because I mean, we see all these other options, even something which is much more elevated than what we were previously engaged in before coming to Krishna consciousness, namely the worship of demigods. Even that leads one to the darkest regions of ignorance. So what to speak of? What to speak of these other processes? So we really, we don't have many options in order to have a peaceful, happy life. We really have. So I guess that's what the Bhagavatam is doing, is kind of limiting our options. That Krishna is really the only way. And I remember His Holiness Danavir Maharaj, he said, when you open Prabhupada's books to read them, Prabhupada gives you no wiggle room. It's on every page you open, you are forced into the kind of the only option that, okay, Krishna Bhakti is really the only way. So this is really, it is the peace formula. It is the only way. So some other verses related to this from the Bhagavad Gita in terms of this deity worship. So the end of the 7th chapter, yo yam yam tanum bhakta shariyak ikchati tasya chalam shradham tam eva vidudamaham. So Krishna is saying that I'm within everyone's heart, and I give people faith in worshiping demigods so that they can continue that worship. So Krishna actually gives people the shraddha in these different demigods, so they can kind of pursue these. So that's Krishna. That's the nature of Krishna. He gives independence. That, okay, you want to live like this? All right. Well, here you go. And even related to yesterday's nice class. Do you hear that, Kalasuru? Krishna. Okay, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada says how Krishna also empowers the atheist to come up with these different kind of theories to bewilder people. And of course, that's based on one's desire to be bewildered. Prabhupada said, so Krishna empowers the atheist, those whose knowledge has been stolen by illusion, maya prahita jnana, to come up with these different theories, so they can be resolute in their determination to enjoy sense gratification. So then the next verse in the Bhagavad Gita, tasya chalam shadham maeva vihitan hitan. Can't remember the rest of it, but Krishna is saying that but he's pretty much saying, but it's me that people worship, and sorry, can you pass me a Bhagavad Gita? Can you pass me a Gita? Thank you. Sorry. Krishna is saying it's actually he who they worship, and he's actually the one providing these things. Thank you. So that's the end of the 7th chapter. Let me just pull it up so I'm not misquoting things. Satya Shariya Yuktas Tasyaradam Ihate Labate Chatata Kamam Mayeva Vihitan Hitan. Endowed with such faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desire. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Nice. So Krishna is actually the one who is giving these things. Like there's that other Bhagavad Gita verse. As people worship, as people surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. What is it? Somebody knows it. And then at the end of that verse, Krishna is saying that, but actually everyone actually worships me. Everyone's actually just following my path. Okay. And then, so there's this little, in the 7th chapter, there's this little series about the Bhagavad Gitas, about the demigods. And then it's culminated in this verse, Antavat tu palam tesham tadbhavat dalpamedasham devan deva yajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach me and my supreme planet. So Antavanta antavatu palam tesham tadvavat talpamedasham. So yeah, if you worship the demigods, then you get just these little meager things, alpa. Okay, alpa medasham, that's small intelligence. Yeah, antavat means perishable, and palam means fruit. So you just get some little fruit that's perishable. So it's like, yeah, on the altar we have such nice decorations, and I was amazed actually on the altar. I was noticing at Mangalarti today that all the flowers, it's, you know, there's these like flower garlands coming off the altar, and they're actually, the pattern on each side of the flower garland, it's completely symmetrical. So so instead of just, you know, putting a bunch of random colored flowers on it, whoever did it so lovingly actually made sure that on each side of the altar the same color flower was there. So it was completely symmetrical. So kudos to whatever very bhakti-filled devotee did that. But my point was that, yeah, even these flowers, we can see that they're kind of starting to wilt a little bit. And this is the nature of these things, flowers, fruit, and also material pleasures. They also have a beginning and an end, and therefore the wise man should not engage in pursuing such things. So very interesting. Yeah, so Krishna is giving the empowerment to those who want to worship the demigods. But yeah, these things are just temporary. And like I was saying, the real peace formula is to actually to know Krishna. So there's some nice verses. Because yeah, everyone in the material world is seeking after some gain. Like Prabhupada said in one lecture, whether you're a bhogi, you know, an outright sense enjoyment, a yogi, a siddhi, a kami, you know, whatever title you want to give, if you're not a bhakta, then you're chasing after some material gain. And yeah, but where was I going with this? But the devotee is the only one who's actually seeking something else. So I remember one devotee told me one time that actually it's a very intelligent position and realization when one comes to realize that actually sense gratification, that there is no sense gratification in this material world. So we might think, like in our pre-Krishna conscious days, that, oh, yeah, I just can't enjoy like the others, you know? Everyone's out there enjoying, but I can't. What's wrong with me? Why am I so defective? And but somehow or other, yeah, we actually came to realize that, okay, maybe this sense gratification pursuit is actually not the all in all. And that is a very, very fortunate position, because then ultimately, yeah, from that position, one starts to endeavor for a higher pursuit. So I have some, so there's some verses courtesy of Srimati Kunti Devi, but shared to me by Yasadeva Prabhu. So this is from the 8th canto. My Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached. Okay, you hear that? Your Lordship can easily be approached but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling. In the next verse, my bases are unto you, who are the property of the materially impoverished. You have nothing to do with the actions and reactions of the material modes of nature. You are self-satisfied, and therefore you are the most gentle and are master of the monists. Yeah. So those who are still intent on enjoying the material world, as that verse is saying, they cannot full-heartedly approach the Lord. And I know one guru in our movement, I've heard some of his initiation ceremonies, and he oftentimes he'll tell the person taking the initiation that I can see that you are exhausted with the material world. You are materially exhausted, and whereas that might be kind of a insult to most materialists, to us that's actually a great compliment. There's also, and of course, we might not be kind of materially exhausted. We might have these lingering attachments to material things, and sometimes things might be okay, we might have, life might be going okay, and okay, even though we're devotees, sometimes when we hear these verses, maybe they're a little striking. But there's a verse in the Bhagavatam where Krishna is saying that he takes everything away from the devotee whom he especially favors when that devotee is overly attached to material possessions. So very interesting. And of course, this is what Prabhupada said, that Prabhupada quoted this verse that he was so fortunate, he felt so fortunate because Krishna had taken away everything from him. Took his family, I guess he didn't really take his family away, but Prabhupada saw his family wasn't so interested in Krishna consciousness, so he decided to move on, and Prabhupada's business got taken away like that. So Prabhupada was quoting this verse, and when he recounts this history of his life, and feeling very fortunate that, okay, now Krishna has given me no hope. All I have is the ability to ultimately pray to Krishna with sincere feelings. And of course, because it is this sense gratification is what is kind of halts our devotional service. Our devotional service should be unflinching and unmotivated in order to, as the Bhagavatam says, yayatma suprasiditi, completely satisfy the heart. I can't remember that full verse. If someone knows it, maybe they can post it. But yeah, devotional service has to be unflinching, has to be unceasing and unmotivated in order to completely satisfy the heart. And I like this, our Guru Maharaj says that sometimes we engage in a big yajna and then we think, okay, now I can kind of like enjoy my senses and chill out. Well, of course we need rest, but the tendency is to think, oh, I just gave so much to Krishna. Now I'll take a reward in my engaging in sense gratification. So Maharaj is saying that no, actually, we should maintain this kind of servitude consciousness, and okay, I just did a big yagya, but let me not lose the devotional spirit. And as the Bhagavatam says, that's the way to completely satisfy the heart. Okay, so I'll stop there. Hope there was Savai, yeah. So thank you, Yasadeva Prabhu. I think that's, Tarka Prabhu. Savai pumsa paro dharmo yato bhakti adokshije haituki pratiyatha yatma supersediyati. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. And what unmotivated, yeah. And that interruption generally comes from wanting to enjoy the senses. So we have to minimize that, of course. Okay, so I spoke, just to recap, I spoke about the demigods and how, many people, they try to approach the demigods seeking material opulence. And but Krishna is actually saying that, from him, all these things come. He's actually the one giving people faith to worship the demigods. He gives the faith, and he actually even gives the results that the demigods give. It's actually all coming from Krishna. And as we heard in the verse today, that by engaging in demigod worship, that's not a means to know Krishna. That's not a means to know Krishna. Worshipping the demigods is not the all in all. It gives temporary satisfaction. So one should ultimately be finished with all these things in order to fully take to devotional service. Okay. So I'll stop there. If anyone has any questions or comments, they can do so now. I love this picture Leela Kishore has on her profile. I like baby Krishna. Okay. Okay. Thank you, devotees, for tuning in. Very much appreciate this Bhagavatam Sangha. And yes, please continue tuning in. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha. Kripa Sindhubhyascha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Anantakori Vaishnavin Ki Jai.